Hey y'all, what's up? Alright, so here's the next video for today. So today what you have to do is 6.2 recap, and then the next part, I don't have that memorized, so I can't tell you what the next part is. Whatever's next, okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and look through 6.2, okay? Alright, so 6.2 is mainly dealing with fractions, decimals, and percents, okay? So the main thing we got to remember to do is how can we go fluently between a fraction to a decimal to a percent, and how can I write each of these as an equivalent form, okay? If you remember way back when we had this triangle, okay? So let's kind of go back and review how can we go from a fraction to a decimal to a percent and so on and so forth, okay? So to go from a fraction to a decimal, I'm just going to divide the denominator on the outside and the numerator on the inside. Okay, this should give me a decimal. Now, main thing you need to remember is like what we said, if the first number should have a 0. If you don't get a 0 here, you're dividing backwards. Okay? If we're going from a decimal to a fraction, just read the decimal. Okay? Just read it. And then simplify. Okay? From decimal to percent, we're either going to move it 2 places, to the right, or multiply times 100. If I'm going percent to decimal, move 2 places to the left, or divide by 100. To go from a fraction percent, we're just going to combine these two. So we're going to divide numerator divided by denominator. That's step 1. And then step 2, we're going to either multiply times 100 or move decimal 2 places to the right. That's if we're going from a fraction to a percent. If we're going percent to a fraction, we're just going to put percent over 100, because that's what a percent means, out of 100, and then simplify. Okay? You should still have this picture somewhere if you haven't thrown it away. All right, so we're going to use this to be able to answer the question. All right, so here we go. So number 1, complete the table with the equivalent fractions, decimals, percentage. The shaded section represents the numerator. Decimal should be rounded to the nearest hundredths, and fractions should be in simplest form. Okay? All right, so here we go. If I look at this picture, first I need to count how many slices there are altogether. So 4, it's going to be over 8. Count the color, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my fraction is 5 out of 8. Now I can make that a decimal, and I can make that a percentage. Okay? 5/8 should be one of those that you should have memorized. But if not, let's work it out. So to make that a decimal, I'm going to put my denominator on the outside, my numerator on the inside. 8 can divide into 5 0 times. Again, if this first number is not a 0, then you're dividing it backwards. Okay? Multiply, 0 times 8 is 0. Subtract it, 5 minus 0 is 5. I'm going to go ahead and throw in my decimal. I'm going to add in a 0, and I'm going to bring it down. So now I'm going to divide 8 into 50. I'm going to think of my multiplication facts, and we'll want to get as close to 50 without going over. Well, I know 8 times 7 is 56, and that's over, so I need to go back one. So it'll be 6 6 times 8 is 48. Subtract it. 50 minus 48 is 2. Add in another 0, bring it down. 8 will go into 20 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract. 20 minus 16 is 4. Add in another decimal, 0. 8 will go into 40. 5 times 8 is 40. And I'm done. So there's my decimal. So 0 decimal 625. Now, to make that a percent, I've just got to either A, multiply this times 100, or just move this decimal 1, 2 places to the right, so 62.5%. That's it. All right, so next picture, 5, 10. So out of 10 places, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is colored. But again, my directions say I need to put it in simplest form. Okay, so I can simplify this down. I can divide both of these by 2 because they're both even. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 1, both of these are prime numbers, and I can't go any lower. Okay? All right. So I can make 3/5 a decimal. Again, you may have this one memorized. If not, here we go. So I'm going to divide 5 into 3. 5 will go into 3 0 times. 0 times 5 is 0. 3, add in my decimal. Bring down my 0. 5 will go into 30. 6 times 5 is 30. And I'm done. Okay? So I end up with 6/10. So I can write 6/10. I can also write that as 60 hundredths. Okay? Because both of these are equivalent. 6/10 is the same as 60 once. Okay, if you remember your place value, we have the 610 rods. We can draw 6 rods. Well, we can also make those into 60 individual squares. Okay? Now, I'm going to keep it like this with the hundreds place because I know I'm going to have to move it 2 places to the left. So I'm not having to like think in my brain with this one. Okay, so move it 2 to the right. I get 60%. Okay? All right. Moving on. Last picture. All right. So if I look at it, I have 3, 6, 9 total diamonds. 3 of them are colored. Okay. I can simplify this down because I can divide both sides by 3. So that will give me the fraction 1/3. Okay, so 3 out of 9, or I could even look at it as 1 out of a group of 3. 1 out of a group of 3. 1 out of a group of 3. Okay. All right, 1/3. Again, this one you should probably have memorized, but let's work it out. So I'm going to put 3 on the outside, 1 on the inside. 3 will go into 1 0 times. 0 times 3 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Add in a decimal. 3 will go into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 1. Add another 0. Sorry, that was a terrible arrow. 3. 3 times 3 is 9. What you should be able to tell is this is just a repeating decimal. Okay? Repeating decimals just mean that it repeats on and on forever. Both this decimal and this decimal, Those are what's called terminating because they end. Okay? So make sure I know this is repeating. I'm going to put the repeat sign over the number that repeats. Okay? All right. So I'm going to go 0.33 repeating. Move this one 2 places to the left. So I'm going to go 33. I'm also going to go ahead and add in the next number because I know it repeats. Percent. Okay. Again, if you're confused, stop the video, rewind, message me in Classroom, hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, the works. Okay. All right, here we go. Number 2. So which decimal fraction are equivalent to 16%? Okay. Now, big key to help me right now is that percent. Because I know we've already said percent just means out of 100. Okay. So I can take and write that as a fraction as 16 over 100. Okay. Just by knowing that, I can go ahead and narrow this down. Okay, it's not out of 1,000, so that one's out. It's not over 10, and it's not over 1. So I know it's going to be 1,600 because I can take this decimal percent, move that decimal 2 places, 16%, and then the fraction 16 over 100. All right, number 3, write the equivalent decimal in percent for 3/5. Well, if you go back right here, 3/5, we've already done it. So decimal is 0.60, or you could even say 6/10, because again, these two are equivalent, and 60%. Okay. All right, number 4, choose all. Okay. Which are equivalent to 1/9? Okay. Well, that's one of those weird ones that we don't normally have memorized. So I need to divide it. So I'm going to divide 9 into 1. 9 will go into 1 0 times. 0 times 9 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Decimal, 0, bring it down. 9 will go into 10 one time. 1 times 9 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. Bring it down to 0. 9 will go into 10 one time. 1 times 9 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. I'm going to add another one. 9 will go into 10 one time. 1 times 9 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. So I know I have decimal 1 repeating. Okay? So I already have my decimal. The reason this one is wrong is because we already tell the 1 repeats. Okay? This one is saying that it ends. Okay? I can go ahead and tell this one right now because I have that 1 out front. They divided it wrong. Okay? So now if I take my decimal, 0.111 repeating. If I move this decimal 2 places to the right, I get 11 1/10 repeating. 11 1/10 repeating. Okay. All right, number 5. Which of the following statements is not true? So what that means is 3 of these are going to be true. 1 of them is not going to be true. Okay. So A, 1/4 is equal to 25%. I already know that one's true because 1/4 is worth 25 cents. So I know that one is out. B, I'm going to leave this one alone for right now because there's something we need to notice. C, 67% is equal to 6,700. Well, if I move that decimal 2 places to the right, that does give me 67%. So I know C is wrong. 3/7 is greater than 50%. Well, we can't really look at that one right now. So what I need to do is I'll need to take 7, divide by 3, to make sure that this decimal is greater than 50%. So I'm going to divide 7 into 3. That will go 0 times. 0 times 7 is 0. 3 minus 0 is 3. Decimal. 0, bring it down. 7 will go into 34 times. 4 times 7 is 28. 30 minus 28 is 2. 7, bring down my 0. 7 will go into 20 2 times. Because 3 would go 21, which is too much. 2 times 7 is 14. 6. I'm going to stop right here. Yes, it would keep going. But I'm at 42 hundredths right now. If I look right here, 50%, if I take that decimal back, that would be 50 hundredths. 5 is bigger than 4. So this is not true. Now, the reason we skipped over this one is because that says 375 thousandths is either greater than or equal to 3/8. 3/8, if I take this out, 8 divided by 3, 0. 0 times 8 is 0. 3, decimal. 8 will go into 30 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. 30 minus 24 is 6. Sorry. 7 times. 56. 4. 0. 375 thousandths. So the reason this works, just because I threw that inequality sign in there doesn't really mean anything. But that's saying greater than or equal to. So I know that is wrong. Okay? Alright. A few more and then we will be done for today. Alright, number 6. Select each number that is between 35% and 5/8. Okay? Well, we've already worked out 5/8. I know this is 62.5%. Okay? Now, what you need to notice is that we have decimals, percents, and fractions. We can't compare this right now because they're not all the same thing. Okay? So we need to get them all the same thing. I'm going to make them percentages. So that would be 60%. Already there. I know this is 66.6%. If I move this one 2 places, that would be 12.5%. And if I remember right, we've already saw a 3/7. No, we did not. Never mind, I'm going crazy. So 3/7. Go 0 times. 0 times 7 is 0. 3. Decimal. 7 will go into 30 4 times. 4 times 7 is 28. 2. Add in a 0. 7 will go into 30. 7 will go into 20, sorry, 2 times. 2 times 7 is 14. 6. 60. 7 will go into 60 8 times. 8 times 7 is 56. 4. Now, I'm going to stop right there. Yes, it will keep going. Okay? But I just got to move it 2 places. So that'd be 42.8%. So which numbers are between 35 and 62.5%? Well, 3/7 is. 50% is. and 60% is. And that's it. Okay? So when you get one like this, you got to get them all the same thing. You just can't really look at it. You've got to get them all the same way. Okay? All right. Number 7, put in ascending order. We've seen that word ascending and descending multiple times this year. Okay? Ascending is, again, going to go from least to greatest. Okay? Now, kind of like number 6, we've got fractions, decimals, and percents. We can't really get them all. We can't really compare them because they're not all the same way. But I can get them there. Okay? I'm going to make them all percents. 1/5 is 20%. 48% is already there. Move it 2 places, so 25%. 5/8 we've already seen before. 62.5%. Now, the way they want us to write this is the way they gave it to us. Okay, so as a fraction, the decimal percent, or however they started. Okay, well, 20 is smaller than all the others, so 1/5 is going to go first. So we're done there. So now we just got to ask yourself, which number is the next smallest? 48, 25, or 62.5? 25% is next. So decimal to 5. We're done. Which number is smaller, 48 or 62? 48 is. 48%. And that means 5/8 is last. So how are those in ascending order? 1/5, 25/100, 48%, and 5/8. All right, last one. Which correctly lists the number in descending order? Okay, so descending is going to go from greatest to least. Okay, now what you want you to notice first, okay, is they give us a mixed fraction. So let's get all of these into decimals first. So I'm going to write them over here. So I have 3.5, fraction 15/3, 35%, and 0.50. Okay, I like having that ones place a 0 there. Okay, they didn't write that, but I like it that way. Now, I want to get these all decimals. Okay, so this one's already done. 35%, move that over, 0.35. Now, what I want you to notice about this fraction 15/3, one, that's an improper fraction because my numerator is larger. I can divide this. Again, that just reads 15 divided by 3. Well, 15 divided by 3 is 5. So that would just be 5.0. Okay? What you need to notice is that this is a whole number. Okay? This is not a decimal. I can write that as a decimal, 5.0. If I want to go 2 places, 5.00. Same thing up here. That's 3.5. That 3 is a whole number. So that's going to be 3 decimal. 1/2 would be 50/100. Okay. So, if I want to put this in descending order, I've got to find the greatest number first. Well, first I'm going to look at the ones that have actually a whole number in the ones place. Well, 5 is bigger than 3, so the fraction 15/3 should be first. And if I look at my answer choices, there's only one of them that does. And that's it. Okay. All right, y'all, that's the video for today. You should be able to go through it now. And if you're kind of still confused, go back through the video, rewind, pause, rewind, and hit me up if you need me. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. Later.